This poem from Ferry, it's the title poem, and it is the story that is told by a man who was once a worker on the docks and then became a ferry captain, and for many years went back and forth in a normal way from one place to another, doing a job. But that now the ferry no longer goes back and forth. No one knows where it's going. The captain doesn't know where it's going. We're all going into a period of climate change, and we don't know what's going to happen. So that is the happy story I'm going to read. It's called Winter Ferry. He had been one of the old men who worked on the docks, had 100 stories to tell, and did. He talked to us now amid the dry shafts of flying ice, amid the way to go forward with only the compass keeping steady. He said, what came over didn't necessarily come back, nor was it all one with him. He sometimes told of being home, of the Scotsman she had married when it was too late and the accident too near. Not that they were any Tristan und Isolde. They were both older than berries left on the trees for birds, and she was not, as they say, she of the white hands, but the color of royal. He said, they called her Aubergine. She came from across another channel, not ours. She was delicately spaced in vowel and flesh. Already survivors of at least one blast of month-long sleet, she cleaved to him as though forever had been found, though he loved to tease and say he was the first to see and love, the first to know, always. But here again we saw land and knew he'd warned us truly that what had crossed would not necessarily cross back. Too late now for them. The usual disrepair of some past glory brought them down together, not just to the quiet street they knew and where they were known, but fallen to the dragon pen of cliff, to gravel the rivening sea had not yet hobbed away. Their bones are still down there, he said. Bright talent that other one as well, but maestry fingers pinched upon the atlas of an expanding world, and he sold himself, got run in for a line of cocaine snork when he had been poised to try for more. He said, boys who saw that mountaintop cave in turned to trees no bigger than a poplar limb. Gravel on a hook of land, deserted even then of boats, a boy gone bad. Like a bright talent that land once was, and he swung the wheel hard left to bring us back to center as the ball in a tornado strikes past the target. Our children froze in unearned fame, a sling tabloids made to bring the giants down. Again we sighted land, and until the clouds skewed in again to knead us in a death-soft vice, saw land again, then land still further on, beyond any mile, and we knew we had no destination. Oh yes, he said, once we all had faces that were real, but they have blurred to the discard of histories. And what had crossed would not necessarily return. The night kept coming on. No eye could melt the layers of that rich ice. Ears were drumming to the accessories of black wind. But then there were the pears, he said. The pears and the blue, sea-washed glass. Shall you hear this too? His voice was light. That full day, 3 of us went down the grade, heading for the level tracks beside the river. We nearly passed the field, a very small bit of turf it was, just big enough for 6 trees. 6 pear trees, and every one had just then dropped its fruit. A prolonged weeping came scudding off the bough, and when it slowed, the old man was still in remembering. The grass was yellow with ripe fruit, unbruised, clean from rain, not yet pocked by hornets or the southbound birds. There was enough for a month of juice and skin, and how we pressed it to our lips. I loved that smell, not like any other. Pear, ripe for the mouth and thirsty tongue. What I wouldn't give to taste it now. Too crazed to howl, streaked from the frost-filled ghosts. Winds baying like trapped or abandoned beasts, wrapped in grief that could neither save themselves nor tip us over into hell. We lost the inside of our own minds. When the winds had cast themselves another way, he was still in his inward pause. So generous the way things used to come. He spoke as though we did not know this also. His story now was of an island beach gone ankle deep into sea-washed glass. Though blue sea-washed glass by then was rare, plenty of brown glass, yes, and clear glass, and plastic of every sort. But no longer the blue, not until that morning. The dead girl had been compared to the blue. After the service, we looked for a quiet walk and climbed down a nettled bank, expecting to find a beach of Maine's own gray stone, but found ourselves wading instead in sea green, blue grass. He paused, conjuring, and the boat ran steady in the waves. It lay deep and peaceful as far as our eyes could find a beach. It covered every rock and was only a deeper blue where it found the tide. We had fields of harvest then, he said, and our daily crossings were only for supplies. Everything seemed normal, as if no other way existed. Nothing seemed miraculous. He pulled the wheel toward the center and gently repeated to himself, it was all miraculous. Later, he spoke once more. We weren't required to do it all at once, just one serious gesture. We were too spoiled.